Welcome back to the MANvFAT Wales podcast. I think this is episode 3 or 4 of season 2. And I think we're about 14 podcasts deep now, which is brilliant. And I'm really pleased today to be joined by a woman. Because this is MANvFAT. But no, I'm not talking about you, by the way, Ross. We know that MANvFAT is nothing sometimes without the woman behind the MANvFAT. And I've got Emma here and Ross. Ross is an amazing player in our Newport League, our very second BMI boss, absolutely smashed it. Winner of the national tournament, I believe. Is that right, Ross?
Yeah, I'm the part of the winning team, yeah.
Yeah. It was all you, Ross. It was all you.
I wish I could say that, but no.
No, Scan doesn't like to take credit, but we do kind of throw that at Scan, don't we? This podcast is all about how best to support each other, and actually having a family at home who help and support you, having people around you, be it family or friends, is a really key aspect of MANvFAT. So just throw it over to you, really, to start off, Ross and Emma. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, Ross Gudgeon is full name. I started MANvFAT in Newport when the league started back last year now, November last year. Or year before even. Yeah, got a new year, isn't it? Year before. Signed up thinking, to be honest, first off, of a way of getting myself back into football again, more than the weight loss side of things. Thought weight loss would just come as a bonus, but the more and more season or a couple of seasons went on, I've really grown into the other side of it of being the main side of the weight loss. So that's my intro.
I'm Emma. I've been married to Ross for just over 12 years now, so I knew him well before the MANvFAT journey had started. And I'm still here and I'm really proud of what he's achieved through being a part of MANvFAT.
I love how you've couched that there, Emma, because what you're actually saying is I knew him when he was skinny before and I knew him when he was fat. And I love that. Now, a lot of this podcast, I'm hoping it's not going to be led by me, but I'm pretty sure it is at certain points, because in the conversations I've had previously, even though you're a very together couple, and I know you're a very together couple, you're not on the same page with the questions I'm going to ask today, because it's all about how best to support your partner. And I know you kind of don't think you've had a major impact, or you don't feel as much as Ross how much of an impact you've had, but I think getting your story out there will really help some people. So let's start with the very first question. It's kind of for both of you, so feel free to jump in with both your perspectives. But what was life like before MANvFAT? Because I know, Ross, you were heavily involved in kind of quite a physical job, weren't you?
Yeah, I work for Openreach, basically, and my job does entail different things, like climbing telegraph poles or lots of bending up and down, carrying some sort of heavy equipment, but it is on my feet a lot. But yeah, before MANvFAT, I can't say I wasn't unhappy with life in general. I was happy plodding along. But I did find just doing general things, say around the house or with the kids, I wasn't sort of doing them as long as I wanted to. And as I said a bit before, I did try get back into playing 11-side again, thinking part of my fitness, and part because I did just miss playing football. I hadn't done it for years before that. And went along to the local club, started training. But I found with the training, I was doing that and then suffering really badly for the next couple of days with part of legs, part of just being tired. And yeah, it did start playing my mind a bit. So started thinking about got to take care of myself now. I'll switch on. Yes, I'm still young enough to make a change that I can keep to. And I wanted to do something, and scrolling through Facebook, I'd come across MANvFAT. Was offered to go to the Cardiff side because they were already running in Wales at the time, but with other commitments I already had on, because I was part of the Army Cadet Force where I was an instructor in that. But I had one kid at a time just starting out her actual scout journey as a beaver, so that took up some evenings. It wasn't really viable for me to go to Cardiff, so waiting until Newport kicked in, and just kicked on from there, really.
We've gotten into a bit of a rut, I think, as well, haven't we? We were, especially in terms of the food aspect. Yeah. I certainly was eating because I had to. You know, you need to eat to be able to function and survive. And I think it was possibly the same for you as well, wasn't it? We were eating because we had to, rather than because we were enjoying.
We're enjoying what we were eating. Yeah, it was a lot of, we'll have a frozen pizza here, or it's like the fish fingers and chips, or the convenient stuff. It wasn't necessarily good for us, but it was getting us through.
Yeah, it was getting us through, but there wasn't a lot of thought behind it either, was there?
No, it was just, one meal can we cook tonight that we'll all eat. Yeah. Shove it in, where you go,
and job done.
So yeah, this journey from start to finish has completely changed not only my diet for their health, but yours, and I would say to a point the kids, but they're still happy with their nuggets and chips, and they always will be their kids.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting. Some of the things you said there, the fact that you just felt, in terms of your life, you were plodding along. You wanted to get back into football, but you went straight to the football side of it, and it didn't work out because of that kind of outward puff.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, the first interaction I ever had with you, Emma, was do you remember the Facebook message you sent me?
Yeah, I do.
So Ross had just started, and he was doing really, really well, and you kind of, your first reaction was, all right, I'll message his coach and see, is there anything else I can do? Because you were in a rut in terms of like eating out of convenience or eating, but there wasn't that weight loss aspect for you, was there? There was just that kind of eating to enjoy. So how do you do that part of the journey? And Ross do his weight loss as well. And I think you brought it together really well. So I won't ask the next question, because the next question was what triggered the change. And Ross has explained earlier that he turned up a MANvFAT football for the football. The weight loss was a bonus. But he's also explained how the 11-a-side didn't work out because it just
fitness wasn't there,
wasn't ready for it. So I know your family cookbook is pretty much pinch of nom, isn't it? Pinch of
yeah. I will admit 90% of my stuff comes from those books, but what I found using them is they are nice and straightforward to use, so it works well.
Yeah. So in terms of using those books, how as a couple do you use those books? Is it one of you takes the lead on that, or are there conversations around the food?
There's conversations around it to an extent, but Ross very much takes the lead. I mean, even before the MANvFAT journey, Ross was always far more passionate about food than I was.
Prove that.
Big stomach. Not just in the eating of it. I mean, the whole process around food, you've always been far more passionate about it than I have. As I said, for me, eating is just something that you do because you have to keep fuel into your body. Whereas Ross likes experimenting with flavours and tastes and things like that. So it comes from Ross. And Ross will put slips of paper into the books and go, okay, this is what I think we will both enjoy, but we need to narrow it down for this week. So what do you want to eat this week? So it's then going through and it's sort of creating the meal plan for that week off of what Ross has effectively earmarked, not because that's what he wants to eat, but it is dishes that he thinks we will both enjoy, ones we've had before, ones we haven't tried yet. But it's very much from Ross.
Yeah, in terms of the planning of the meal plans, as I said, my entire week's worth of food isn't planned. The only thing that would be what I'm having of an evening. Breakfast, I'm very much still military minded of, I like my routine. So breakfast will always be a bowl of fruit and yogurt or a bowl of porridge. my lunches will be like salad type stuff: tomato, cucumber, celery, boiled egg on some crisp eggs, Vivitas, little small things like that. Things I can have a lot of, but don't have a high calorie count. It's the main meals where I say experiment, try new things, go back. A nice big hearty main meal, but that's my main source of my calorie intake is from there. So in terms of planning, I plan those for the week. We do the big our weekly big shop, get what we need for them, and the rest of the week is just I write down what I do as I go along. So don't stick to it religiously. If I got a certain meal plan for a certain day and it suits better than another, I'll move it then. But those meals is what I'm having that week. And I make a point of sticking to that.
Do you find that helpful then, Ross? The fact that you're the one that's passionate about the food, you're the one that's making the choices, but obviously Emma's explained how it's not just things that you like and damn her, whatever I like. And do you feel that's helpful in terms of support, that just Emma is not so much? I wanted to kind of use a metaphor of like just being a passenger. She's happy to go along with the idea. Does that help?
Yes, definitely. Knowing that it is essentially my weight loss journey I'm on, but because we're doing it together, it's more. I'm watching what I'm putting to my body to help the weight come off, but it's having that support. It's having that partner there who's willing to basically do what you're doing with you, or at least make a little change to her own diet to suit mine. Massive change. I'm changing to mine. We don't always have the same meal. Our biggest thing really comes to that we don't like or both like is fish. I love my fish. I eat all sorts of it. Emma has it is in a fish cake or fish finger. Yeah, but it's little things like that where we talk through, we work out what we want for the week or what I fancy for the week, and Emma picks her favourite 3 or 4. But yeah, it's that a support of that knowledge, knowing that she's happy for me to do what I want, as well as not just doing it because she has to. She wants to do it. Yeah. So,
you mentioned as well about the slips of paper that you kind of
yes,
they sound a bit like food love letters. Would you say that's your communication strategy about this is what's on the plan for this week, or do you go into a bit more detail talking about it?
No, we do not so much massive detail and much more than that. It's more I usually sit down of a Saturday morning before we do the shop. I'll flick through my books. I'll pick out, I don't know, 7 to 10 recipes that we've had before or new ones I want to try. I will stick like a sticky note or random bit of paper I've torn off somewhere on that page number, and then I'll literally go, here you go, here's 4 books, take your pick.
Get a cup of tea and a set of books.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's a case of, I know I'm happy cooking any of these meals, but I want something that we're both going to have together. Yeah. Because one of the things I've really got to start trying to do now we're back into our 3rd season is my portion control size. I will always cook the meals straight out of the book, and if it says serves 4, serves 6, whatever, I just follow the recipe because I know it'll work. My worst thing then is making sure I've got nothing left over or nothing too much left over. So what it says serves 1, sometimes I'll make a bigger serving just so we don't waste the food. So my biggest thing there is now control my portion size, but having, again, go back to sport, but knowing that what I cook will feed 2 of us rather than just me means I can hopefully try and tone them down a bit.
Okay, that's interesting. I think what's coming through as well is this kind of, you've mentioned your ex-military background. You've got this kind of regimented way of doing it. Saturday morning, then you go for the food shop on the Saturday morning, or or during the Saturday. You know, you've got your meals planned out for the week, but not necessarily on the days. So that gives you flexibility. One thing you've mentioned about, you know, Emma will only eat fish if you hide it in breadcrumbs. Or batter. I'm sure batter works as well.
Yeah, batter works.
What do you do when it's not the same meal then? What do you eat then, Emma?
I will eat something that I will enjoy. So, for example, we've just kind of fallen into the routine again, really, of Thursday night will be the night that will be fish, because Ross then knows he's got football on Friday. So he wants something, the weigh-in. Yeah. So he knows he wants something a little bit lighter than, say, a meal that we would have at the beginning of the week. So Ross will go for, it's usually salmon or something like that, salmon fillet or something like that, isn't it?
A fish fillet, some steamed rice and a portion of veg.
Whereas I'll then go for something, say, like fish cake, chips and beans, which could be something that the kids would have as well. So it's not so much the doing an extra meal for the sake of it, because we do try and get the kids involved as well. So it is different to what Ross is having, but Ross doesn't feel like he's missing out because he's created the dish that he wants to have.
Yeah.
And I've got a dish that I'm perfectly happy eating and will eat. And Ross doesn't feel like he's missing out on anything at the same time.
And he's also that sort of backup, knowing that I'm sort of planning the shop, knowing it's going to cost X amount more because I'm having all this fresh stuff again, rather than the whole money saving thing of going frozen all the time.
But we needed to do that anyway. I think we've gotten into such a rut that changing our eating habits and what we were eating needed to come at some point anyway. I think the blessing was that you had decided you wanted to do MANvFAT, and knowing that, yes, the football was a massive incentive for Ross to get involved, but the weight loss, the wanting to lose weight was there as well. And so an aspect of that was needing to change our eating habits and what we were eating. So everything just kind of fed from Ross signing up to MANvFAT. I think otherwise we possibly would have still been sat here with you not being happy about your weight and knowing we needed to make a change, but not really having the reason behind it.
I know it's a trigger wise you weren't going to ask, but my main trigger was actually a big family photo that my in-laws have. It's the whole family in Florida, lovely family holiday. But my own personal perspective is I look freaking huge compared to everyone else. And our plan is we're going to go back this year, 4 years from the same time we went for. And I want to make that picture again, not looking like that. That's my goal. So, yeah, and it's a lovely photo, but it's the size of a 50-inch TV, and I can't look big in it. So that was my main trigger for wanting to change how I looked.
Have you told, just because I mentioned at the start, this is about advice for couples and advice for families, but have you had that conversation with the wider family?
Yeah, I say pretty much every other time I see the pictures, like, that's why I'm doing this. So they know why I want to do it. There's probably other little things that buy into it, but that was my main starting point of I don't want to look like that anymore.
And do they know that picture is going to be retaken as well? And have they kind of agreed to take it down afterwards?
I haven't actually discussed taking the old one down. But yeah, we have all said that, well, we all know we want a nice new picture out there anyway.
Nice.
Whether we go to the same place, have exactly the same picture, I don't know, but we will have another family one done. And as I said, my plan is not to look as big as I did in that one as this one.
Wicked. All right, then. Final question now. And I don't think I've had to delve into all the things you sent me about Emma. But I may well
give it time.
Yeah, I may well drop them in if you don't answer this last question correctly. So let's leave it with some advice. We try and do this on a podcast where you kind of go away with something that you can take, a nugget or whatever. What's your advice for couples? So, say one of the one of the partners is starting MANvFAT. What would you say are the keys to success?
For me, it's first off talking about what you want out of it, not as me as a player or yourself as a player per se. What actually level of support you want from your partner. Emma would say now she says she doesn't believe anything she's done that I say, but to me it's the little things. It's the asking how I got on scales, asking how I got on a Friday, the actual game, putting up with me leaving her with the kids, even though I've been out all day at work to go and do my run, to her putting the kids to bed and see me on exercise bike at 9 o'clock at night because that's the only time I've had to get on it. It's the little things like that, knowing that they're the changes that I've had to do to make my weight go off, and she's supportive enough to just let me crack on and do it.
I think communication is the big one. You can decide to make the change, and you can decide that this is what you want to achieve, but unless you communicate it, nobody else is going to know that. And it's not communicating it for somebody to be able to go, well, okay, you've achieved it, well done. It's, I guess in a way, it's just the courtesy of it. If Ross wants to go out for a run, I'm not going to turn around and tell him that he can't. But to know he's going to go out to work and is then going to come home and go out for a run is much nicer than Ross going out to work, coming home, getting changed, and then me finding out he's planning on going back out the door again as he goes back out the door. It's a bit like even now on a Friday night or before a Friday when Ross goes to play, I will say to Ross, okay, what time is your game on Friday? Because if I don't ask, Ross won't tell me the time. I know he's out all night because he can watch the game before his, and he will stay and watch the game after to provide the support, help, whatever he's doing. But Ross doesn't always think to communicate to me.
I have had a few messages or phone calls as I've got in the car at goal on the way home. Bear in mind, I've been there till 10:30, quarter to 11. No, yeah, my game finished about an hour ago. I'm still here. But
is everything okay? Because again, I know what time his game is, but he doesn't say that he's stopping on or he's planning to stay for the duration to be able to sort of see all the games or whatever. So I think communication is the big one. You can make decisions, you know, if you're the person going through the weight loss journey, you'll make decisions that you feel is right for you, but you do need to communicate that to your partner or wider family or whoever.
I think another thing as well is don't be like a yes man type thing.
Mm-hmm.
If either of you see something that you know isn't helpful, bring them up on it.
Yeah.
Don't have to be critical about it. Just say, do you think that's the best thing? And it jogs a thought in the mind, and you can carry on from there. Like,
and it's finding what works for you. I mean, with Ross taking the lead on it, and Ross being, we both like our routine, and we work best when we've got routine. But if that doesn't work for you, don't keep trying to work to that method because it works for somebody else. You can find what works for you and make changes along the way. I think that's the biggest thing. And it would be, I think, if you were trying to go through a format that somebody else uses because that's what works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What I always said all along, what works for me may not work for certain people.
Mm.
But if they want advice, I will tell them what works for me.
Yeah.
Let them try it. If it works for them, great. If not, there's plenty of people around the club, yourself,
everybody does,
who has a different plan, different method, and that works for them. So it's just asking and try and see what works.
Yeah.
So I've made a few notes there, and thank you ever so much for everything you've shared now today, guys. So Ross, you said about top tip: talk about the support you need. Just say, I need this. Be quite explicit about what you want.
Yeah.
One of the powerful things that has been for you is the fact that Emma cares. She hasn't just asking, how did you play? She's asking how you got on the scales, being kind of aware of what MANvFAT is, because MANvFAT isn't a slimming world. It is very, very, very niche. So if you can know that, and then bringing the communication up with everything else that comes around it. So if you're going out for a run, having that communication is really important. And Emma used the word, having just the courtesy to say, listen, this is the plan for here in terms of the exercise. I'm going to need this amount of time. And just putting that up front, because we know it's not 28 minutes of football. It's the traveling there and back. It's around it. I can't thank you enough, because I think there'll be a fair few couples and families who'll benefit from your insight. So, like, massively thank you for coming on. Thank you, Emma, for helping Ross to be someone who helps so many people around our league now. And in the same way that you don't think you're helping in his journey as much as you probably are, and I'm sure Ross doesn't realise how much he's helping others in our league. So you can both have that where you're being very modest about it, but believe me, I don't think the efforts that either of you are making are small or insignificant. So thank you ever so much. Thanks for being on the podcast. And looking forward to seeing Ross's journey continue. Looking forward to seeing you a few more times, you and the kids, down at our family fun days.
They've already penciled in. They're going.
Good. Thank you ever so much. Thanks ever so much for being here. And we'll finish there, if that's all right.
Yeah, no one. Take it easy.
Thanks, Dan.
All right.
Bye.